Hey guys, tonight we slip quietly into the sandals of a samurai knot, the armor-clad warrior galloping into battle with swords flashing. But the real, quieter kind, the kind who's been at peace for about 17 years and mostly worries about tea stains and rice taxes. You're waking up in a creaky wooden house just outside a sleepy village in Edo period Japan. The air smells faintly of tatami mats and cedar wood. Your back? Oh, it's definitely stiff. That floor wasn't exactly built for lumbar support. The sliding paper doors creak as you open them, and dawn spills in like a soft watercolor. You're already upright before the sun clears the hills, not because you're excited for the day, but because it's expected. Being late isn't a samurai problem. It's more of a poet's crime. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, why not share your local time and where you're listening from in the comments? I love seeing this little sleepy community all across the world. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stretch slowly, knees cracking louder than you'd like, and grope for your kimonoites folded. Just so, as always. Outside, a cuckoo bird calls from a pine tree. The air is still and cool. You can already hear your neighbor's son practicing the bamboo flute. Badly. There's no alarm clock, of course. You're guided by habit and sunrise. The day's first duty? Appearing collected. Samurai life, even in peacetime, is a performance and you're always on stage. Stoicism is your brand. Even if your right shoulder has been sore since yesterday's sword forms. You move through your home silently. Not because you have Tobit, because silence is grace. The floorboards creak only slightly under your tabby socks. A servant slides open a side door to bring you a bowl of water to wash your face. You bow slightly. He bows deeper. It's a whole bow-off situation, but no words are spoken. Washing is brief. The water's cold and your hands are stiff, but you don't flinch. Flinching is for children and farmers. You glance out at your garden, raked pebbles, pruned shrubs, and one defiant weed that keeps returning, like a ghost from a past life. You'll ignore it for now. You've got bigger problems, like composing a haiku that doesn't sound like a desperate diary entry. Inside, you settle on the floor in front of your short writing desk. There's no smartphone to check, no emails to delete, just your own thoughts and the faint pressure of legacy weighing down your shoulders like invisible armor. Generations of your family have served lords, fought battles, and died honorably. You're debating whether to add a simile about plum blossoms or just leave the poem vague and mysterious. Your journal is thin, the brush feels worn, and the inkstone has dried out a bit. You sigh, refill it, and begin to write something poetic about the morning mist. It's decent, not great, but you nod as though you've just cracked the secret of the universe. Then come the morning stretches slow, deliberate, and somehow more tiring than battle. Your joints protest, but you persist. There's no trainer clapping in your face or ancient coach screaming, "One more rep." Just you alone, breathing rhythmically while your legs tremble during a prolonged horse stance. It's elegant suffering. Historians still argue whether most samurai of this era saw themselves more as warriors or as civil administrators. You, meanwhile, are fully convinced you're somewhere between a soldier and a very underpaid museum docent. As the sunlight brightens, you prepare to face another day of sword polishing, calligraphy errors, and possibly dodging one extremely opinionated tea master. Your belly rumbles gently. But don't worry, breakfast is coming, and it's about as exciting as warm water and plain rice can get. But hey, excitement is for peasants and poets. You, dear samurai, are above it all, sort of. You shuffle quietly across the wooden floor to the eating area, where breakfast is already set. A small lacquered tray awaits you, a neat bowl of cold rice, a wedge of pickled daikon, and a miso soup that smells faintly like seaweed and resignation. No eggs, no toast, definitely no matcha lattes. You sit in Czak knees, folded beneath you, back straight, toes complaining. This is the official sitting posture, the one that screams discipline and restraint while your calves slowly go numb. You're not allowed to say ouch though, just radiate patience. That's the samurai way. The rice is slightly dry, the soup a bit salty, and the pickled radish tastes like it's judging you. You chew slowly, with purpose, each bite a small act of contemplation. In this house, food is not consumed, it is appreciated. In silence. Your wife, if you're lucky enough to have one, sits a respectful few feet away, eating her own meal with the same rigid etiquette. If she coughs, it's with grace. If she sneezes, it's practically a bow. No one slurps. That would be scandalous. The goldfish in the garden pond have heard livelier breakfasts. You nod slightly in gratitude after finishing. This is not a signal to talk. It's just acknowledgement. Your servant quietly removes the tray without making eye contact. This entire meal has unfolded with the solemnity of a no performance. You are full emotionally, if not physically. There's a saying, samurai eat with their eyes, which is convenient, because there wasn't much on the plate anyway. Historians still debate how much influence Confucian rituals had on samurai dining. But one thing's clear, this breakfast has more rules than calories. You stand, legs tingling from disuse, and prepare for the next sacred task, polishing your sword. But before that, a brief teasalo, not ceremonial. You sit by the veranda, watching the shadows of bamboo leaves play across the garden floor. A cicada starts up early, buzzing like a tiny broken alarm clock. The tea is hot and bitter. Like your thoughts when you realize you'll spend another afternoon reciting proverbs to younger samurai who'd rather be playing Go. Still, in this moment, the bitterness is oddly comforting. It's a grounding kind of taste. You sip slowly, pinky out just a touch, and wonder how many times you've done this exact thing. Probably thousands. You're like a very polite NPC on an endless loop. Your armor, meanwhile, sits in the corner unworn, a little dusty, but still watching. You don't wear it anymore, unless there's a festival or a funeral. But it's there, just in case. You imagine it's sulking slightly, offended by its lack of action. Poor thing. You gently brush some cobwebs off the helmet as you pass. You'll polish your sword instead. At least it still feels useful. And as you walk to your private chamber to fetch your katana, you pass a faded scroll that reads, in bold calligraphy, "Victory is won before the battle begins." It's meant to be inspiring. You mostly use it to remember which way the kitchen is. You sit cross-legged now on a mat in the courtyard, sunlight falling across your lap in warm, dappled patterns. Before you lies your sword, your katana, the soul of a samurai. It's not for battle anymore. It's for ritual, discipline, and frankly, a decent arm workout. You unwrap it slowly from its cloth covering, careful not to touch the blade with your fingers. Oils from the skin can invite rust. The sword gleams, its edge almost unnaturally straight-like. It has never known a crooked thought. Which is ironic, considering some of the lords you've served. You reach for your uchiko bala, small silk pouch filled with polishing powder, and gently dab it across the blade. It leaves a faint white dusting, like ghostly fingerprints from ancestors. You rub it away with a cloth in practice strokes. Up, down, breathe. Up, down, breathe. This isn't cleaning, it's communion. You remember being 16, wide-eyed and terrified, learning to polish your blade for the first time under the withering gaze of your old instructor. He looked like he was forged from stone and vinegar. He told you, "A dull sword is like a lazy soul." You still don't know what that means, but you've never let the sword get dull, just in case. Historians still argue whether samurai carried their swords more as weapons or as status symbols during the peaceful Edo period. You've decided it's both plus. It makes a pretty great letter opener when the occasion arises. Not that you get much mail. You inspect the blade edge on, watching how the sunlight dances along its curve. You think briefly about the times it saw action, and then remember, you haven't drawn it in earnest in nearly a decade. But still you polish, because that's what a samurai does. A few birds chirp in the tree nearby. You imagine they're offering commentary on your polishing technique. Too slow, one seems to say. Wrong angle, the other. You pretend not to hear them. You're meditating, obviously. The handle, wrapped in stingray skin and silk, feels worn but familiar. Like a handshake from your younger self. You wrap it again with care, then slide the katana gently back into its lacquered scabbard. It clicks softly into place, like it's grateful to be home. And now, since your sword is spotless and your soul presumably sharpened, it's time for some real action. Mentoring. You head toward the training courtyard, where a group of teenage samurai in training are waiting with bakken wooden swords and zero patience. One's yawning, another's clearly just here to avoid doing chores. You suppress a sigh and raise your voice, gently. Stances. They grumble, but comply. You walk among them, correcting elbows, shifting feet, tapping shoulders with a bamboo stick. You say very little, just enough to keep their attention from drifting like cherry blossoms on a breezy afternoon. One lad attempts a flourish with his bakken and nearly decapitates a bush. You arch an eyebrow. He bows sheepishly. You nod like you've seen worse, which you have. Once, a noble's son fainted during warm-ups. That was a long morning. As they practice, you demonstrate a kataslow, graceful and precise. Your body remembers more than your mind does. The moves are like old friends, comforting, a little dusty, but still loyal. And just as your breath syncs with the motions, one student interrupts. "Sensei, why do we still train with swords when there are no wars?" You pause. "You didn't expect philosophy before lunch." You reply softly. "We train not for war, but for peace to last." A bit dramatic, sure, but it shuts him up, which was the goal. You leave the training courtyard just before noon, your joints creaking like the temple gate. The younger samurai bow as you go, some out of respect, others because they're hoping that means they can stop swinging their bakken. You say nothing. Silence adds mystery. Back in your quarters, you remove your hakama and change into something lighter for the midday Hita simple kimono in faded indigo. The kind that whispers, "Retired, but watch your step." You're heading out. Not to battle, not to duel, to the market. Because even a samurai has to buy turnips. You slide open the door and step into the street, sandals clicking softly on the stones. The town hums around you, modest, clean, and perpetually busy with things that seem urgent but never are. A fish seller shouts something about eels. A woman carrying daikon glares at a dog. A child runs past you shouting, "Monster! Possibly at the dog, possibly at you. You're not offended." You did forget to shave. The market is colorful, a mild chaos of fabric stalls, produce stands, incense, smoke, and the occasional chicken. You nod at familiar faces. The old woman who sells tofu gives you the same look she gives everyone. Mild suspicion. She hasn't smiled since 1663. You stop by a stand selling writing brushes, curious if any feel right in your hand. The merchant eyes your Dayshoth twin swords on your high pan, quickly offers a discount. You nod solemnly. You are the reason brush prices go down. You choose one and test its stroke on a sample scroll. The ink bleeds like memories, elegant and slightly messy. You approve. Historians still argue whether samurai regularly wrote poetry, the merchant says, trying to sound casual. You arch an eyebrow. He's trying to impress you, poor soul. You nod gravely and say, the blade and the brush are not so different. It's vague, sounds deep, and buys you a dignified exit. You stop at the vegetable stall. The vendor grins, revealing exactly 2 teeth. Same as usual? He asks. You nod. Turnips, seaweed, and a small jar of pickled plums. Gourmet, Edo style. Your pouch is light, so you pay with courtesy and reputation. Works 9 times out of 10. On the 10th time, you suddenly remember a chore you must attend to. Like now. You make your way back through the town, bag in hand, brushing past children playing Hanetsuka-like badminton, but with no net and twice the shrieking. You pause at the shrine gate and bow, more out of habit than fervor. The gods aren't picky. You reach your gate and remove your sandals. A servant takes the groceries without a word. You wonder, not for the first time, if he's actually a ghost. Back in your room, you lay out the items with care. The turnips look particularly judgmental today. You ignore them. Lunch is simple. Cold noodles in broth, sprinkled with green onions and sesame. You slurp. At home, you can slurp. It's liberating. You savor the noodles like a poet savoring metaphors delicately, with occasional smugness. Afterward, you sip tea and stare out at your garden. A frog leaps from one stone to another. You mentally applaud. The koi fish ignore you completely. Typical. As the breeze picks up, you lay back, arms behind your head, and close your eyes. Not to sleep, samurai, don't nap. You meditate horizontally. It's been a quiet morning, filled with invisible rituals and unspoken codes. You haven't fought anyone, saved anyone, or written an epic haiku, but you did buy turnips. And somehow, that feels enough